And the first one out of the gate here is the 53 entry sow. She's going to be the third overall in Heat 1. I think one that has a lot of power and potential through her center body. She's elevated up front and really soft and maternal there. She maybe just doesn't come with the extra muscularity and power of stoutness as those that are going to find their way ahead of her. The 54 entry sow, one that's just more moderate, carrying too much condition for me, and I'd really like to power and stouten her up through her basic build, open her up through the base of her skeleton. Entry 55 is another one that I would like to lean and trim up, but really what becomes my concern for her is the structural integrity of her hind leg. The amount of condition that she's carrying is causing her to labor there out of her hip, but as you study her from her hock to the ground, she's just not correct in her angles and really starts to get tight and restricted in her movement, hock and pastern down. The 56 entry is going to be our class winner in this particular heat. I think she comes with the most amount of stoutness and power. Really, really big in her forearm and stout in her hip and hind leg. I appreciate how much spread she has as you study her out of the backside of her blade and the curvature to her rib. I think that she'll be able to inject a lot of stoutness and power into her future generations. Entry 57 is going to be our second place in this class. She's probably more elevated in her design than our class winner and has more length of skeleton. Unfortunately, she just comes frailer in her feature and is especially narrower when you get in behind her. I really need to power her up there through her hip and stifle in order to be able to compete with our class winner. Great job to everyone in Heat 1. Heat 2 of our age sow division starts out with the entry 58, and she's going to be third in this class. Another female that just has so much mass and power through her rib and center body. I'd like to make her level her out through her hip and give her a longer range of motion out of her hind leg. She too is one that could just be stoutened up in terms of her foot and bone and come with a hair more muscularity. The 59 entry is one that I really just need to open up through her base of her skeleton and stouten and power her up. As you study her there through her chest, she really just wants to close up and get so much frailer featured. You can certainly appreciate her length of skeleton, however, and her depth of body. Just everything about her needs to come more three-dimensional in order to be competitive for me. Entry 60 is going to be our winner for this particular drive. She's got just a ton of mass and power working in her. Really stout featured through her forearm, stout featured out through her hip, and as you study her out of the backside of her blade, she comes with a lot of spread and dimension with a great curvature to her rib and center body. Entry 61 will be our second in this class, and I'll be the first to admit that going away, she needs to be stouter through her pin set and more powerful from behind. It's her elevation up through her blade and extension that keeps her second for me. I think when you study her from the side, she comes with just a tremendous amount of look and pattern. If we could tie that into the power and stoutness of our class winner, I certainly think that you would have a really competitive individual. Entry 62, just a more moderate individual and one that I appreciate how soft and maternal she is through her center body, but I just need to elevate her and give her that extra look and design of some of the females I've been picking in other classes. Let's give all of these individuals a hearty congratulations. Right off the bat in Heat 3, we have the 63 entry sow, and she's going to be third in this drive. Another one that's elevated and comes with just a tremendous amount of mass and power. To change her, I need to open her up at the base of her skeleton, make her stouter in her overall feature, especially when you study her through her forearm and her foot. Entry 64 is one that's really got a ton of depth of side and a big maternal center. The problem for me is that she just becomes too two-dimensional, coming and going. She's too narrow through her chest floor and at the base of her skeleton, and she just gets quite a bit flatter and plainer in terms of her overall shape. I would love to clean her up in terms of her condition. Entry 65 is going to be our class winner in this particular drive. She's the most elevated at the point of her blade, really, really extended behind her blade. And I like how square she comes out of her hip. It really allows her to push her hock back further behind her. She really gets out here and moves with a good length of stride. I really like the look and pattern that she brings, in an excellent place to be first in this class. Entry 66 is our second place in this particular drive. She comes with some of that elevation and extension we find in our class winner. She just doesn't do it with the extras of stoutness in terms of her skeleton. I'd really like to stouten this one up and just give her more of a maternal female shape, especially when you study her from behind. She really wants to taper in terms of her pin set and get flatter and plainer out through her hip and stifle. Entry 67 is just a more moderate type of female. She comes with a tremendous amount of rib and body and is very, very pliable there through her center skeleton. I just need to dial her back in terms of condition, cause her to be just a hair leaner. I think would allow her to appear more balanced and attractive in terms of her overall design. Great job to these exhibitors. To kick off Heat 4, we have entry 68, another sow that's really just kind of moderate in her design. She wants to rock her blade forward and be lower up front. I do appreciate her depth of side and how soft-centered she is, but I need to square her up out of her hip and cause her to be more level designed there, as she really just wants to tuck her hind leg underneath herself. Too much for me today. Entry 69 is going to be our class winner in this drive. She's a tall-fronted, level design type of female. I could dial her back in terms of condition, but relative to her competition in this class, I think her mass and power is unmatched as you study her up high and out through her hip. Entry 70 is going to be our second place in this class. I really appreciate, again, the mass and power, how much curvature she has to her blade and softness of center. She wants to get lower and more broken down up front. She gets too soft in her pasterns for me today, wants to tuck her hip up underneath her, and I really just want to stouten her and square her up going away. Third in this class is going to be entry 71, another one I really appreciate for her maternal center. I really want to open this girl up through her chest, give her more integrity to her front pastern as well. I appreciate that she comes leveler and squarer out through her hip, but she does want to become quite a bit more rigid as you study her, how she works through her hind leg. A great job to all of the exhibitors in Heat 4. In our age sow champion drive, our champion's going to be entry 65, and I spoke very, very highly of this female in class. I love the extension that she has and the frame size and growth and performance that she brings with her. I think she's so extended ahead of her blade, probably the biggest forearm I've seen work in an individual in these females, with such a good, attractive look on the side. I really think there's a lot of future there. Our reserve champion female is going to be entry 56. This is one I talked about just being so powerful and stout in terms of her feature. She's so opened up on the top side of her skeleton and comes with a great curvature of rib. She's not as elevated and extended as our champion, but I think that her power and mass is just undeniable, and she can really do some great things, especially making market animals for the next generation. The third overall in this particular division is going to be entry 60. One that I talked about, again, having so much power. She comes with more condition and she's more moderate in her kind. I still appreciate how opened up she is on the top side of her skeleton and how powerful she is out through her hip. A great job to each of these exhibitors in the aged sow class.